Ibrahim Ikhlaf, if you're watching, if you're listening, I put out a challenge to you for a public debate in London, okay, on the topic, was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani a true prophet of God? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Is that a fair topic? Because that's where the contention is. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani's claim to prophethood is the bone of contention between the Muslim community and the Ahmadiyya community. Let's discuss that topic and deal with it once and for all. So if you accept the challenge, then I rate you. I will rate you. But the problem is, Declan, they will never accept this challenge. And this in itself is quite telling.
Hello, Adnan. It's great to be back with you again.
Thank you, Declan.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, it's been about 9 months since we did the previous podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot has happened since then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've been obviously following you very, very closely. Since then, yourself and Muhammad Imtiaz and watching all your live streams and so on, I have noticed that out of all the Ahmadiyya opponents, you are the most disliked of all of them. Why is that?
Okay, good question. Let me make the distinction first. There is a distinction between the common Ahmadi and the establishment Ahmadi.
Mm-hmm.
The common Ahmadi doesn't dislike me. That's my impression, that's my feeling, because I get messages of support, I get messages of appreciation for the information we have been sharing, for the education we have been imparting. So the common Ahmadis know that when we start our programs, our podcasts, our streams, we always make this disclaimer that this is not a hate campaign against the common Ahmadi. This is not a campaign of dislikeness, or this is not a campaign to raise some kind of hatred against the common Ahmadi. Rather, this is a campaign of compassion and mercy that we want to reach to the common Ahmadi and explain to them that this has been a mistake on the part of the elders and their predecessors who have accepted Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani to be some sort of messiah or some sort of prophet or something like that, right? So the common Ahmadis don't dislike me. The establishment Ahmadis dislike me, no doubt, because I'm hitting their pockets. They live on chanda, they live on donations, right? The establishment receives hundreds of thousands of pounds, possibly millions of dollars every single year from the Jamaat followers, from the common gullible Ahmadis. Okay, they pay money into the Jamaat coffers, and that amount is reducing drastically because people are either leaving the cult or they are refusing to pay.
No, but when I said that you seem to be one of the opponents that they dislike the most in comparison to Muhammad Imtiaz, Muhammad has exposed the writings of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He has forensically examined them. He has presented them to people on his live streams week in, week out. But still, they don't seem to have as much venom towards Muhammad as they do towards you, Adnan. You're the one that they'll say, oh, you're a bully, he's a liar, what he's saying is wrong. They really seem to target you, and I don't know why it is that they pick you out, because there are other opponents, but they don't seem to have as much venom towards others as they do towards you.
I'm not sure how true that is. I'm not sure, but let's assume it's true. Let's assume it's true. If it's true, it could be for two reasons. Number one, all of this started with myself, when Noonan.
This was in Hyde Park Corner, Speaker's Corner,
okay. When Ibrahim Noonan engaged with me, and
that was probably the first.
That was the catalyst.
Yeah.
That was catalyst.
September 2023.
Yeah. That was the catalyst of this current campaign that's going on the Ahmadi movement, to discuss it, to expose it, okay, or to expose the teachings, not the movement necessarily, but the teachings of the founder.
But that wasn't a planned meeting. That was just a random meeting that day, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. But that meeting, that conversation, that debate,
that triggered
what came after. Okay. That could be one reason. The second reason could be because I have large following online. I have about 1 million people following me on different platforms. If I put all my following together on social media platforms, they probably feel threatened by my presence or my contribution. Brother Imtiaz is one of my teachers. He is a very noble character. He's very kind. He's a compassionate soul, and he's very soft with them. Maybe that's why, they feel that maybe I'm a tougher
You're a tougher
opponent.
character, but
Yeah.
when it comes to what he has done, he has really educated. He's educated everybody.
100%, including myself. There are things that I didn't know before I engaged with the Ahmadis on this level. Brother Imtiaz has educated me a lot about this movement in the last 2 years. So he's one of my teachers, no doubt. Yes.
He has done a superb job. Now, you and Muhammad, you're probably now into 21 months into an initial 5-year campaign to expose the real writings of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Are we in the dying days of the Ahmadiyya caliphate?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's
Are you
over.
sure?
100%. I have no doubt that it is already on the decline. It is finished. The days of the cult are over. It is falling, and it is soon going to be dismantled. Okay, what we are witnessing.
Are you really sure of that?
100%. I have seen the signs.
But Adnan,
Yeah.
they're a small little movement, but they are strong. They're
very
resilient.
organized. They're very organized.
They're resilient.
Yeah.
And they're rich.
But they don't have any intellectual, theological, spiritual foundations. Absolutely none. This is the problem.
Do you think that that's going to be the undoing?
100%. Once you pull that rug, what they call the theology, okay, it's over. Once the people, the followers realize that there is no theology, it is all a sham, it is all fake, it is all made up, it is all basically a new idea in the name of Islam, which is being paraded at Islam globally, right? Because they are organized in a number of different countries, some more than others. They have some presence, okay? Even in some countries there is token presence, but they are there, right?
They are. They're in probably about 200 countries, but as you said, means sometimes very small numbers.
Yeah, look, having an outlet like McDonald's or Burger King, they have outlets in possibly more than 200 countries, right? Having a branch, a McDonald's branch or a Burger King branch in a country doesn't make the country a McDonald country the Jamaat claims that once they open a little branch somewhere in a corner somewhere in a very quiet place, right, they have a presence in that country. They don't have any practical presence.
I agree with you in the sense that people on the ground, they're in short supply, but it's a rich movement in the sense that it has a very valuable property portfolio.
Absolutely, no doubt. And
real estate
and it has been collecting
land.
It has been collecting money for the last 100 years from its gullible followers. There are many affluent Ahmadis in Canada, in the US, in the UK, in Germany, who give a lot of money to the Jamaat, thinking that this is the representation of God on earth, right? This is the Jamaat of God, right, on earth. So in that, just like the Catholics give money to the church, just like the Ismailis give money to their Jamaat, right? So the Ahmadiyya also giving their money to the Jamaat for it to flourish. And the Jamaat uses that money for propagation, for opening branches, for propping up places of worship, to show presence. But there is no real presence, Declan. The problem is the Ahmadiyya movement does not engage with the masses in most of the overwhelming majority of the countries they are in. They don't engage with the masses because they can't. Masses don't accept them because they are well known to be a cult, to be an offshoot of a colonial idea that was born in India in the 19th century. Yeah,
in the Punjab, yeah. Now, we've all got hot under the collar at various times about Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, myself included. Last year, obviously, when it became very clear to me, the vile, untrue, unnecessary things that he said about Jesus, I was very upset about them. And that's really why I have, disassociated myself from the movement, because, prior to that, I'd been quite good friends with them, or on friendly terms with them, and I thought I knew them quite well, and that I, trusted them, and so on and so forth. So that was a huge shock for me, when the true extent was exposed. But, since then I've probably calmed down a little bit, and I've done my research, and I'm continuously doing my homework, and since then I've been speaking to lots of ex-Ahmadis, and I've discovered that really, Adnan, outside Muslim circles, Ahmadiyas are practically unknown. It's just a small movement with probably around 1 million people worldwide. And at the end of the day, are they really posing any serious threat? Well, they're certainly not posing any serious threat to Christians, but are they really posing any serious threat to Muslims? bearing in mind that there are nearly 2 billion Muslims in the world, 2 billion versus 1 million. That's not really a threat, is it?
I, as a Muslim, believe that falsehood can never be a threat to Islam, because Islam is true. Islam is the truth. Falsehood can never be a threat to the truth, but it can be a challenge. So Ahmadiyya movement is a challenge.
How is it a challenge? Explain to me.
It's a challenge in a number of different ways. For example, they are preaching their religion in the name of Islam. Okay, they claim it is Islam. Okay, they go to African villages, let's say, and they start pretending to be Muslims. They put themselves forward as Muslims, right? And the Africans, those who fall for the charms, think they are Muslims, right? And after having spent some time with them, they slide in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani as the savior, as the Messiah, as the Mahdi, or as the Prophet. Okay, so this is the problem. This is the challenges. So they are deceiving masses, gullible masses, innocent masses in Africa and possibly other parts of the world in the name of Islam.
Do you think that they deceive people for very long? Because, as I said, I've been speaking to ex-Ahmadis, and when it comes to converts, converts sometimes are here today, gone tomorrow. Probably about 50% of them only stay for a couple of years and then they leave. They're not mainstays.
That's not the issue. The issue is, once they have already misguided people, claiming that this is true Islam, and it's not true Islam. 2 billion Muslims on the planet do not see it as true Islam. They see it as a lie in the name of Islam. Okay, it's not Islam. So when they go to people and tell them this is Islam, Ahmadiyya religion is Islam, this is where the challenge is. So we have to save people from this deception. Also, second point I wanted to raise very quickly was that they are trying to reach governments and institutions to speak on behalf of Muslims. They are trying to speak for Muslims. They're trying to tell the governments that we are the true Muslims, we are the real Muslims, talk to us. These guys, these are sectarian extremists.
But why aren't Muslims doing that themselves?
We are.
When you say that Ahmadiyas go to African countries, I mean, these days, Adnan, Africans, surely they must do their own research. Everybody has a phone these days. Everybody.
No, not in villages. Not in African villages. They don't have TV. They don't have smartphones. They are very humble. They're humble people. They're intelligent people, but they
haven't access to the.
They cannot do research.
Okay.
They cannot be Muhammad Imtiaz. They cannot be like him, who can sift through the challenges and the contradictions and the lies of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. They don't have the ability. They don't have access to the books. They're major murabbis, okay, in the UK and some outside internationally. They don't know the Urdu language. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, most of his writings are in the Urdu language.
Yes.
So if you don't know the Urdu language and you are a qualified murabbi, how can you claim to have known the writings of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani? This is a person you're claiming to be a prophet of God, right? How can you possibly go and preach to the people of the world about him, not knowing what he has written, right? So this is the challenge. So we as Muslims, it is upon us, it's a responsibility, right? When there is a challenge, big or small, we have to face it.
But do you think that they are expanding in Africa? I don't think so.
They have
because
gone,
I've looked at the figures. I've really closely looked at the figures.
They've gone into Ghana, let's say Nigeria, and some West African countries where they opened up hospitals and schools.
Yeah, they do.
They are doing exactly what Christian missionaries did in the 19th century.
Yeah.
And they made.
They modelled themselves to a great extent on the Catholic Church, do they not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so I think what we should do is we should move to a separate location right now. Okay, so shall we move, or because it's drizzling? There is a drizzle.
I would have continued because that was going to clear off.
Okay, let's go. Continue. Yeah, no problem. That's fine. Yeah. So in Africa, I say they are in some countries. They have some presence. And they are managing to take some people into Ahmadiyya, not big numbers, as you said rightly, not big numbers. But again, it's still
But what is the threat? What is the threat? What is the main threat that Ahmadiyas have towards those 2 billion Muslims? 1 million versus 2 billion.
Look, in the religion of Ahmadiyya, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani actually taught his followers to be loyal to colonial establishments. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
by
that
default,
that has come up quite a lot with.
100%. It's there. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani wrote that my father, my brother gave their blood and sweat for the British government in India. I would be willing to die for this government if necessary. Okay, so Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was a colonial puppet, okay, in the Indian subcontinent. He wrote pamphlets and booklets to appease the government, the British government. He even wrote a pamphlet to basically utterly dismantle jihad, or for the utter extinction of jihad. Jihad is a mechanism to protect the oppressed and someone who is in need of help. Okay, that's what jihad fi sabilillah is in Islam. So to appease the British government in India, because in the Indian subcontinent in the 19th century, the British government was facing a lot of resistance from some Muslims who were calling it jihad. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, to reach out to the British government, he came up with this idea that we will write against these people. They are wrong, they are extremists, and the British government is a noble blessing of God. Okay, it's the shadow of God on earth. Queen Victoria is the greatest thing that happened to humanity. Things like that, along these lines. He wrote these things, right? And because of that, it's always possible that the Ahmadiyya movement and the members of it will work for colonial establishments around the world. It is always a problem. It still continues to this day. I don't know the exact relationship of the movement with the State of Israel. Okay, although they claim that they have no connections or no ties to the State of Israel, but they have a big center in Haifa. Okay, big markaz or big center of activities in Haifa, in current day Israel.
How big is it?
It's quite big. It's a very significant establishment.
But how many members?
I don't know the details, but it's there. This can be confirmed.
No, I've heard about it, but I wasn't aware that the numbers there were on the high side.
And there is history of Ahmadi men fighting during the First World War for the British Empire in Iraq against the Ottomans. Okay,
but that's historical, isn't it? I mean,
but that's historic. But
current day,
again, but this is what the religion is. The religion has taught this. This is what the Prophet of Ahmadiyya taught. Okay, and I'm not making this up. Okay, for example, when he would take pledge of allegiance from his followers, when people came to pledge their allegiance to him, one of the clauses was that his followers will have to be loyal to the British colonial government in India. Okay, so you couldn't go couldn't go more wrong than that. Okay, what establishment are we talking about? This is an establishment that was responsible for 100 million deaths between 1880 to 1920. Okay, there is an article on Al Jazeera. You can Google it. 100 million deaths in colonial India. Just write these words: 100 million deaths in colonial India. You will see an Al Jazeera article by two historians. Okay, and they're not Muslim, by the way, and they're not some kind of anti-Ahmadiyya activists. They simply put down facts as they saw them. Okay, and they claim there were 100 million deaths due to British policies in India from 1880 to 1920, exactly when Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was active. This is the period when he was active. From 1880 to 1908, he was most active, as you know, right? For these 28 years, he was most active, right? This is when Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was writing about the British colonial government, that this is a blessing of God, this is a shadow of God. Anyone who resists this government is a bastard. Sorry for my French, as they say. Okay, anyone who resists this noble government that established peace in India. I mean, he viewed the British colonial government as a peace-establishing, peace-giving, justice providing government. Okay, which wasn't the case, as I have already.
He couldn't get it worse if he tried. Yeah.
So this alone should be enough for any sincere common Ahmadi out there to abandon this cult, because this person, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, was not even a good man, let alone a prophet or a Messiah or a Mahdi. Okay.
Well, I think Muhammad in his live streams, has really exposed his character. But having said that, going back to my original point, people do get very hot, still get very hot under the collar. But as I said, small movement. Why not just leave them be? They live life in this bubble. They're entitled to their beliefs, their opinions, whatever.
Declan, I am not against their freedom to believe in what they want to believe in. They can call it the Ahmadi religion, but when they go and tell the world that this is true Islam, that's
the jarring point.
Yeah, this is identity theft. This is like someone claims to be your father.
Yes.
Someone comes to your house, knocks your door and says, I am your father. I am your biological father. And you know your biological father.
I do.
Your mother told you who your father is. You've seen your father and you have evidence that this person is your father. But someone else comes and you know this person is making a false claim, but continues to insist that I'm your father. You will never accept that. You will go to court, you will fight your case, you will try to prosecute him for prosecute, not persecute. I'm saying prosecute. Okay, prosecute him for impersonation.
I get your point.
Identity theft. Okay, or defamation. Call it what you like. Right. This is the challenge. The challenge is Ahmadiyya movement claims to be true Islam, and they say 2 billion Muslims on the planet are upon false Islam.
So that it's a real deep insult that just can't be pushed aside.
Can't be ignored. Absolutely.
I get that. I get that because
But if they want to say that we have a religion, we want to follow this religion, we have a prophet, and his name is Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, and it's a new religion, no problem. Like Christians, like Jews, like Sikhs, like all other religions in the world, they are flourishing. They are choosing to follow their own paths. No problem with that. This is your choice. Okay, right or wrong is another matter. But it's your choice.
Mirza Ghulam Ahmad didn't want it to be a small religion, didn't he not? Didn't he not say, "I am the savior for all of humanity"?
Well,
he wanted everybody.
Absolutely, he claimed to be the return of Jesus Christ. He claimed that he is Jesus, right?
And there's no ways that they can make an inroad towards Christianity, because the moment that Christians find out what he said about Jesus
and about Mary.
Yes, absolutely. No.
Apparently, or allegedly, Mary, according to Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, was hermaphrodite. She had male. I mean, we discussed it in the last podcast, right?
Yeah.
In detail, and we put up all the references. Anyone who wants to see all those references can go to those podcasts and watch those references. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So the point here is that we have to be fair and just. We're not just doing this campaign for fun, or due to our hate towards a bunch of people.
No, and I'm glad that you've clarified that point.
There is no hatred.
Lots of people say to me, Adnan, why be so bothered about them? They're only it's only a small little group, small movement. They live life in the bubble. Let them get on with it.
Yeah. No, but if let's say if a small man comes to you, again, to give you an example, if a very small, insignificant man comes and claims publicly that he's your father, you're going to have to correct. You're going to have to correct the mistake. You're going to have to correct the claim. It's a false claim. You're going to have to respond to it. So there is a claim in the name of Islam called the Ahmadiyya religion. We have to respond. It is our responsibility to defend, to protect the honor of our Prophet, because this is his right. It is the right of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to be the last prophet of God. He claimed it. He said, I am the last prophet. There is no prophet after me. There is no prophet. What they try to do is, because there are injunctions, whereby the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, said that before the end times Jesus will return, but he will return as a follower of Islam. He will not return as a prophet to the Israelites.
Yes,
because his first ministry was for the Israelites, according to the Gospel of Matthew, as we know, whereby Jesus said,
Yeah.
I was sent to no one but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we understand his message to be.
Yeah.
Right? He came to the Israelites. The Quran confirms that he was Rasulun ila Bani Israel. He came to the Israelites. So when he returns, the question is he coming back as a prophet to Israelites, or is he coming back as a follower of Prophet Muhammad as part of his religion? And we believe that Jesus Christ is not coming back in prophetic capacity. His prophetic capacity is already fulfilled.
Yeah.
He finished his job. His ministry was fulfilled when he ascended to the heavens, right? When he returns, he is simply returning to fulfill the prophecies made by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So the Ahmadi Jamaat claims that Jesus is Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. Even though Prophet Muhammad said, this is Jesus, the son of Mary, who's coming back. But Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was not the son of Mary. Even if you were to claim some metaphorical meaning to the word Jesus, you cannot put son of Mary metaphorically. It's a biological reference. It's a physical biological reference.
It's just so absurd, isn't it?
Yeah,
So absurd.
absolutely. So these are some of the reasons why, Declan, we are running this campaign. As small, as insignificant as the Ahmadiyya Jamaat may be, right? It still needs to be corrected.
So your 5-year campaign, Adnan, is ongoing. I mean, and you've introduced the last message outreach. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the message in last message outreach, and what do you hope to achieve by this?
It stands for exactly what it states.
Last message outreach.
The last message outreach.
Yeah.
We want to convey to the world that Islam is the last message. Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger of God.
Okay.
And Quran is the last book from God. There is no other message coming. I mean, if someone else comes along and says that they have written 80 books, having been inspired by God Almighty after the Quran, why do we need it? The Quran in chapter 5 makes a categorical statement, Declan. It states that today your religion has been perfected and God has completed his favors upon you. Okay?
Yeah.
And he has chosen Islam as your religion. Okay? This verse was revealed 4 months before the Prophet Muhammad passed away, near the end of his life.
Yeah.
On the day of Arafah, the Hajj he did, the last Hajj of his life, when he did, and on the day of Arafah, he had the largest assembly of his followers in front of him. Okay, never before such a huge number of his followers gathered in one place in his presence. Over 100,000 people.
Wow.
And this is where the verse was revealed that today your religion has been perfected. When something is perfected, Declan, is there any room to add?
Of course not.
Right? So if Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani claimed that he has received another 80 books as an inspiration from God, 80 books, 23 volumes, which most human beings cannot possibly read in their lifetime, right? Most Ahmadis haven't read it. Okay, I rate Imtiaz, Muhammad Imtiaz, for spending 2 to 3 years of his life reading that stuff. And he said
that wasn't an easy task, was it?
I haven't read. I keep saying this, and I don't know, for some reason they keep picking on this. I haven't read most of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani's books because I don't feel like it is such
You've read some of them, and the rest of them.
I have read enough. I have read enough to know that this is a complete fraud in the name of Islam.
And I think what Muhammad has done is, he gives pretty good summaries of each one, doesn't he?
Absolutely. So look, if someone claims that there are another 80 books that came from God through inspiration, okay, and you need to read them, and in those books there are direct contradictions with the Quran. There are ideas therein that contradict the Quran directly, okay, categorically. How are we to take it seriously? We take either the Quran seriously, or we take Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani's writings seriously. So there is a clear problem.
There's no competition there, is there?
There is no competition, absolutely no. So this is why it's important to clarify that outreach, the last message outreach, the job is to deliver this very message, that Islam is the last religion, Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet and the messenger of God, and he brought the last message the last book from God, which is the Quran.
So I know your campaign is in its first couple of months. So in the coming months and years, we're going to be hearing much more about
it's
this.
It's going to be a long journey, Declan. This is just the beginning. We are just starting, right? And this is going to be a long journey. Although the cult is over, it is finished, but we want to ensure that we leave so much literature and information on this cult.
But is it over? Is it complete?
It is finished. Do
you think so?
I'm categorically now, in your presence today, I'm going to make a public statement, right? The Ahmadiyya cult is no more. It has already fallen. Okay, what you can see is the straws. Is the straws the building is standing on, and all it takes is one straw to fall. It might be one of the Khalifa's cousins or uncles or his son or his daughter that might accept Islam, and before you know,
it'll implode in upon itself.
Absolutely, okay. I think so. It will spiritually implode. Okay. The Jamaat will implode. It has already imploded, Declan. We know the news from inside. There are people on the table of the caliph. There are people within the establishment who have already left the cult. They are in touch with us.
No. I mean in the last 6 months, Adnan, I've been interviewing lots of ex-Ahmadis. I mean, this time last year, I wouldn't have thought that there was such thing as maybe I was so naive that I wouldn't have thought that there was such thing as an ex-Ahmadiyya, or certainly very few. But these days, they seem to come out of the woodwork everywhere. I mean, I am absolutely amazed that I've found so many ex-Ahmadiyyas, and the stories that they've been telling me have quite shocked me. I've been amazed by it. I know that nothing shocks you, but I've been shocked.
Yeah, and I think it's a moment in your life, Declan, that you have possibly realized that you were misled, you were misguided about the Jamaat previously when you wrote your first book.
No, absolutely. There's no, from the very beginning, I knew about Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and the Kashmir story.
Right.
But that's actually quite innocent. That's like a little fairy tale in comparison to what I found out last year.
Right.
There's no comparison.
Right. So clearly there are things you're finding out now, talking to ex-Ahmadis. Okay, fine. Adnan Rashid is a villain to the establishment of the Jamaat. Okay, I'm a villain, right? Okay, no problem. Okay, it's an honor for me.
The red mist comes down. Mention Adnan and the red mist.
If they see me as a threat, as a spiritual threat, as a villain, okay, I'm no physical threat.
I don't know what they see you as, but they certainly don't like you.
Okay, I mean, it's an honor for me. If an establishment based upon lies sees me as a threat, okay, as a challenge, that it's an honor. It's a life well spent. I consider that an honor, right? But at the same time, there are people now who are ex-Ahmadis who are talking to you. Okay, they are not trained by me. They are not my doing. They came to Islam due to their own personal reasons. You have been speaking to multiple people,
and it's not you that has put me into.
On that note, I really want to announce through this podcast that Declan is already working on a book. Everyone, watch out. This book is going to be published soon. Okay, Declan is actually is going to publish a book in which he has interviewed many ex-Ahmadis, and they put down their own experiences. Okay, so Declan is going to bring out this book, and we are looking forward to it. Watch this space. When the book is out, we're going to publicize it. We're going to put it out so that you can all read it, inshallah. Yeah.
Ahmadiyya Murabis have come back after quite a substantial...
Murabis.
What did I say?
Murabis.
You
said Murabis. No, don't worry about it.
Should we start again on that? Can you edit that bit out?
Yeah.
How do I pronounce that word again?
Murabis. Murabis. You know Rabbi? Murabba.
Ahmadiyya clerics.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Let's say that.
Ahmadiyya clerics, they've now returned after a lengthy sabbatical. How do you think that they're doing in spreading their message in these new...
You see, Declan, you might have noticed for the last year or so, they were trying to ignore us. They were trying to...
Well, they've been absent for about 9 months.
Well, yeah.
Well, best part of a year,
Exactly. So they have been ignoring us. They are not responding to our challenges. They're not appearing on our streams. And for some reason...
But they're back now, and they're back with a vengeance.
Yes, they are back.
How are they doing?
In
your professional opinion,
you are a better judge. But in my opinion, they are causing bigger disasters. And the more they engage with us, the more people can see how lame their arguments are, how absurd their reasoning is. It's unbelievable. If you watched the past 3 live streams they did with Muhammad Imtiaz, although they didn't
I've watched them.
they hardly let him speak. 4 to 5 guys sitting there continuously talking, monologues upon monologues, and they give Imtiaz 1 or 2 or 3 minutes to respond,
I know,
right?
yeah,
to
yeah.
5 to
I've
4
seen it,
people.
yeah.
This is unbelievable. But even then, Declan, it's unbelievable. 5 learned guys trained by the Jamaat for years and fully paid, fully covered, right? They cannot handle Muhammad Imtiaz, who is alone, who is speaking only for a minute or 2, and they are still struggling to respond to his questions. Isn't this evidence enough to know?
No, absolutely. It's unfair 4 against 1.
Yeah.
How about your good self? Can we put you in the ring with whether any of the following?
Well,
Ibrahim Iklaf. He is the head. He's the head man. He's the head of the outreach department.
Amazingly.
Ibrahim, could we put Ibrahim and you, 2 giants together in the one ring?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Can you have a good boxing match?
Anytime, anywhere, with respect and honor. No problem. I welcome Ibrahim.
You've
Yes.
never met Ibrahim,
I
have
have
you?
never met with him, no.
Okay.
I've met Rahil, I've met Razi.
Yeah, no, you have met,
I've
yeah.
met the other gentleman who was there in the last stream, who was the anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met
No,
him.
I think it would be good for you and Ibrahim to have a debate.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Absolutely.
I mean, if he's the head of outreach, as you stated,
He is, yeah.
he's most
the head
welcome.
man.
He's most welcome to debate me.
And unless I'm mistaken, I think he is the boss to the other clerics.
Possibly. So let's put this out. Ibrahim Ikhlaf. If you're watching, if you're listening, I put out a challenge to you for a public debate in London, okay, on the topic, was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani a true prophet of God? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Is that a fair topic?
If
Because that's where the contention is. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani's claim to prophethood is the bone of contention between the Muslim community and the Ahmadiyya community. Let's discuss that topic
the main one,
and deal with it once and for all. So if you accept the challenge, then I rate you. I will rate you. But the problem is, Declan, they will never accept this challenge. And this in itself is quite telling. Okay, unfortunately.
But this is their moment, Adnan, to really meet as many people as possible. I mean, they should be inviting you onto their TV shows, their radio shows.
Declan,
you should be.
I was there for the last stream. I don't know if you were watching the very last stream. I was there waiting for 3 hours in the background.
And
you know the stage, the backstage. The backstage, I was there.
Yeah.
They were aware. They acknowledged it.
Yeah.
They acknowledged it live that I'm there. Okay, and they were engaging with Imtiaz, Muhammad Imtiaz alone. 4 of them, at one point, 4 of them were throwing things at Muhammad Imtiaz. Okay, and I was saying, how is it fair that 4 of you are throwing things at him and you want him to respond in 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
It has to be
The maximum they gave him was 3 minutes. Right.
Yeah.
So I said, let me in and we can have a conversation. And I've been on the channel before. I've been on that platform before. And I was very amicable. I was very respectful. I've been actually twice, if not more times. I've been on that channel twice. They kept me waiting for 3 hours, never let me in. And people think they were terrified. People think, I'm not saying that, I'm not claiming that, I'm not big shot.
They don't like you, they say you're rude, you're a bully, you tell lies. That's their opportunity. They should bring you on their program and expose
Declan,
you. If they really believe you to be this person, wipe the floor with you.
Exactly. Let me in and destroy me in a debate. Destroy me. Yep. Destroy my credibility, my integrity, my whatever. Okay, go ahead.
But it's no good putting things on social media. It's no good sending me messages. Oh, Adnan is this, Adnan is that.
He's a liar. He's lying. Out of context. Out of context. Okay, exactly. My question is, Declan, right now, in your presence, I want to raise this question. Okay, let me in, and let me talk, and you respond. You can go and watch my previous interactions with them on the same channel.
Oh, I
right?
have. I've seen all. I've seen all the back catalogue.
Was I amicable?
Yes.
Was I amicable enough? Yeah. I don't want to say the word Sahib for Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. I even had the displeasure of doing that. Okay? I don't. Sahib is a term of respect.
Yes, it is,
I don't respect the man. I don't respect him. I believe he was an imposter. He's in hellfire. I believe that. He's burning in hell. Right? The point is, I had to say the word Sahib next to his name so that they don't have an excuse to to say that I'm disrespecting the Prophet, therefore they can't talk to me. So I will do that so that they can engage with me. Okay, so we have gone to that extent to have a dialogue and engage with them for the good of their community, so that the community sees the lies Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani has written, and so that the community can see how cunning and how manipulative this establishment is, that they don't want them to know the truth. They will not engage in a fair discussion. They will go on and on and on.
The monologues.
And then they will give you 1 to 2 minutes to respond.
Now I've got another person here, and you have already, well, I think you've just mentioned him at the beginning of this program, Ibrahim Michael Noonan from Galway. Now,
right.
I suppose, and Ibrahim he's a gentleman. He's a very, very nice man. But I suppose when you met him, it was in Hyde Park Corner. It's probably not the most conducive, place to have a sit-down discussion. Would it not be advisable to meet him again in a studio somewhere,
Anytime.
in a private
Anytime.
setting?
I find him to be a very nice gentleman. I believe he has potential to accept Islam. Okay, I don't know the real reason why he still hangs on to this cult. I'm pretty sure he knows deep inside that this is just a lie. He's living a lie. I believe he's living a lie, like many Catholic priests, like many Anglican priests. We know from reports. Yeah. no disrespect.
Let's not go there.
By the way, Declan is a Catholic. Okay, but and even some imams, they may not believe in what they're preaching. Right, this phenomenon, unfortunately, is found everywhere.
Yeah, you get yourself into that rut, and it's very hard to get out of it.
With the Ahmadiyya clergy specifically, I believe.
Well, we don't know that for certain, and we need to speak to Ibrahim Noonan.
Yeah.
Would you come to Ireland? Would you come to Galway with me?
To have a dialogue, yes, absolutely, no problem. To have a friendly.
Because I don't think you've been to Ireland that much.
I've been to Ireland many times. I've been to Galway. I've seen the very Merkers where Ibrahim Noonan is based.
Okay.
I've seen the very Merkers. I've been to Galway, and I'll come back to Galway with pleasure.
Well, I hope Ibrahim. I hope he can invite us. We'll go anyway.
Yes.
I extend the invitation to you.
Let's do it. I mean, if you can organize it, if you can arbitrate between us. Yeah.
No, it would be really, really nice to see him, and it would be really nice to listen to his point of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem. We have equal time. He talks for 5 minutes, 10 minutes if he wants to, and I do the same, and let people decide. I mean, we want to open dialogue. One of the reasons I believe the cult.
Well, this is the time. This is the time for dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't
not
come
now, when?
Exactly. And this is Declan. This is the reason. This is one of the reasons why I believe the cult has fallen, because they are not finding the courage to face us. This is how I determine. This is the greatest evidence, in my opinion, that the cult has already fallen, because their ideologues, their intellectuals, their scholars, their philosophers have lost the spine to face us. To face students like myself and Muhammad Imtiaz. So what do you think the scholars will do if they faced our scholars who have written books on them? Okay, they have no chance. They have no chance. The only reason they're engaging with us, Declan, is because they have no choice. Because the public, the masses, are reaching out to them and telling them to respond. Because
they disappeared for 9 months.
Declan, previously they could ignore our scholars and their books and tell their followers to not touch these books. But now all of this is in public. This is the world of social media. You can't ignore people anymore. You have to respond. If someone makes a claim, you have to respond. Okay, especially about your religion. On this level, if a video has 1 million views, which has happened on my channel, there are videos on the Ahmadiyya religion, okay, where I'm engaging with the Ahmadis. There are 500,000 views. Okay, nearly 1 million views on some videos, right? So you have to engage. You can't just say, oh, ignore them. Who cares? No, you can't. And if you're not engaging in spite of that, then the cult has fallen.
Now, as a historian, I've got 2 questions to ask you here. I want to put your historian hat on for a little while. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, his relationship with Judaism. Obviously he claimed to be the promised Messiah, but in the 17th century, so many people, I've been talking to historians, this was a particular time in the 17th century where people claimed to be the promised Messiah. And one of those people was Zabbatai Zevi. 17th century, he said he's the promised Messiah. He had 2 to 3 million followers across the empire, the Middle East, Europe. He was the most successful claimant of the promised Messiah. What do you know about him? Tell people a little bit about him.
Yeah, he was a Jewish claimant to messiahship, and eventually he became a Muslim. The Ottoman authorities came down hard on him. He was reprimanded, he was captured, and then he accepted Islam. Under what circumstances, whether he was actually intellectually convinced or was he forced to accept Islam, I don't know. I'm yet to find out. Okay, but this is very clearly stated in sources that he accepted Islam, and many of his followers also accepted Islam.
They did?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So he got kind of immersed into Islam. Okay, and he was a claimant to messiahship. There were many figures like that in Jewish history. For example, Bar Kokhba. We know of the revolt of Bar Kokhba in the 2nd century CE, when Emperor Hadrian crushed it severely and razed the city of Jerusalem to the ground. Okay, that was another example. But Mirza Ghulam and Qadiani wouldn't know anything about these guys.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Even when he claimed, to have known the Jewish religion, or even when he claimed to have read Jewish sources, he lied. We cannot find those sources. For example, what he said about Mary, the narrative on Mary, he claimed that Ek Fazil Yahudi ne likha hai in the Urdu language, and I translate. He said that a learned Jew has written this about Mary,
and I have heard that one before.
Right? We are yet to find that source. No one knows in the world what source was he referring to. No one has yet found any such story about Mary in a Jewish writing, and he just made it up. Okay, so any claims he made about Jewish religion, Jewish sources, Jewish prophets, okay, they have to be taken with a fist of salt, not a pinch of salt, because he didn't know what he was talking about. He was just making up things as he went along, like he did about the Prophet of Islam. Okay, he claimed a lot of things on behalf of the Prophet of Islam that we cannot find. For example, the mention of Krishna.
He claimed. Talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to say something else.
He claimed the Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him, he said that there was a black prophet in India, and he was Krishna, Kanhaiya, or Kahin. His name was Kahin. In the Arabic, he quotes the words in the Arabic language. We cannot find this report anywhere. Anywhere. This report is not found anywhere. Now they're going to say he's a liar. I'm a liar. Produce the report. I'm a liar. Adnan Rashid is a liar. In claiming that this report doesn't exist. Show the world that I'm a liar. Produce the report.
What's their response? Because you've mentioned this point before, Adnan. What's the response?
They have no response.
Did they say we'll find it for you, or
they will bring some statement from Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet. It's not even authentic. This statement is not even authentic. That he said that if there was a black prophet, okay, if there was a black prophet, so the statement says if there was one, okay. But Mirza said, Prophet Muhammad categorically stated that there was a black-skinned prophet in India called Kahin, who is Christian Kanhaiya, right? This is unbelievable. This is incredible. This is a very incredible claim to make, right? So I think it's going to pour down. We can quickly move down there. No, but we can continue with the rest. Come, let's go. Yeah, this is not going to stop. So we had to move indoors because it started raining outside. We had a very beautiful spot, so we're going to continue from where we left. Yes.
Okay, where were we, Adnan? I was talking to you about Zabbatai Zevi.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me more.
We were discussing about this messianic figure, and I was saying that anything Mirza Ghulam Qadiani claimed about the Jewish religion and the Jewish sources cannot be taken seriously because he had read none. He didn't have access to the English language. His English was very bad. Okay, He didn't know Hebrew, right? So there were no Jewish sources available in the Urdu language. Okay, or the Persian language, possibly in the Arabic language, but we cannot locate the ones he actually claimed to have read. For example, when he said about Mary that this narrative that Mary was betrothed to Joseph, and she was hanging around with him, and she was accused, and all that story. He said that he got the story from a learned Jewish author. Okay, but we cannot identify this author. We cannot even locate the source. So he made it up. The only now we are in an age of information. There are many learned.
And have they
Ahmadis.
glossed over that?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no response to it. So the Jewish sources, when Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani claims to have read Jewish sources, this is an absolute lie.
With Zebetai Zevi, did he ever mention him?
No, he never mentioned him. I don't think he even knew about him.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though he was such a prominent figure all those centuries ago, whatever.
No, he didn't know about him. He didn't know about him. If he had,
would he have known about the previous claimants who said they were the promised Messiah?
He knew about Musaylama.
Because he was the most successful one.
Yes, exactly. And there was a bigger successful figure. There was a more successful figure in the Indian subcontinent, the Mahdi of Jaunpur. Okay. The Mahdi of Jaunpur.
Tell me a little bit about him.
Okay. So this person was born in the 15th century in Jaunpur in India, and he claimed to be a Mahdi. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he gained many followers, many die-hard followers. Okay. So there were many claimants to being Mahdi in the Indian subcontinent and outside of India. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was not the first one, and I don't think he's going to be the last one. There is a Mahdi going around right now, Declan, online. There is a guy claiming to be Mahdi right now as we speak, and he's putting his stuff on social media. He's on TikTok, he's on Instagram, and he looks quite organized. So are we going to accept him? Are we going to? And he's saying as crazy things as Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani once did, right? This current Mahdi is claiming that you can smoke cannabis. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it's okay, no problem. Yeah. So
how many followers has he got?
He's got
how many followers so far?
He has gained some followers, but let's say in 10 years from now, who knows? Are we going to ignore him? No, we have to. This is a challenge, as small as it is.
It's truly amazing how these people can get people to follow them.
Yeah, unfortunately. And the reason, one of the reasons why Mirza Ghulam al-Qadiani's cult has survived 100 years is because of the literature he produced. They just get deceived. The followers think, wow, this person produced 80 books, 23 volumes of literature, and more, his Malfuzat as well, right?
10 volumes.
And, exactly. So he produced all this literature, so he must be something. He can't just make a claim out of nowhere, right? This is the deception. This is the problem. Okay? So once literature is produced, then you start to get followers, unfortunately.
And then once Muhammad Imtiaz comes along
to dismantle that literature. Yeah.
And shows us everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Forensically.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything is cross-referenced, back-referenced.
Yes, absolutely. So this is the point. It is now very easy to understand how false Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was, because everything is public now. We have put out some of his writings. People have the minds to think for themselves, and they can decide whether they want to still follow this person or they want to leave him.
No, absolutely. It's free choice.
Yeah.
Now, mentioning the books of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, recently, a couple of months ago, I read Jesus in India. I really wanted to read this book, and I expected it to be really good. I expected it to be polished, tightly edited. It's not.
I can remember, you expressed your disappointment at what you read.
Page 14, it states that Jesus was 120 when he died. Page 62, he's aged 5 years. It says he was 125 years old. So what was he, 120, 125?
So I can imagine them coming back, arguing that, in one place it's lunar, and the other place is solar.
They'll tell me, well, you're splitting hairs. What's the difference between 120
there is a difference.
and 125?
There is a mathematical difference.
You're being a little bit fussy here, Declan.
Yeah. So this is an example of a person writing in his book contradicting himself. Either one person is not writing the book, or the person who is writing the book is a liar. Because he himself cannot make his mind up.
Well, Yeah, or I suppose if it's a new book, you could say that's a typo or that's a mistake. But this book has been reprinted and revised several times.
100%. And the reason why they cannot alter it is because it is well known. So if they altered it, people would pick
absolutely.
on it.
Once you've seen it,
so they have to publish it as it is.
Now I want you to let's discuss the following. Chapter 1. This is chapter 1 in Jesus in India, page 3. I'm just going to read 3 lines to you. Christians and most Muslims believe that Jesus was raised to the heavens alive. Both have believed for a long time that Jesus is still alive in the heavens and will return to the earth sometime in the latter days.
Yes. So he confirms this belief.
Chapter 1, page 3.
Yeah. So he confirms here that most Muslims have this belief.
Most Muslims believe that, that Jesus was raised to the heavens alive.
Yeah. By the way,
both have believed for a long time.
He himself believed this as late as 1884. He believed this, Declan, because he published this belief in his book Barahin Ahmadiyya, and the 4th part was published in 1884, whereby he wrote that Jesus will return on earth to establish justice. In the 4th part he wrote this, and he also claimed, Declan, that I am writing this book Barahin Ahmadiyya from direct inspiration from God. I have been appointed to write this book, and I'm writing this book through direct inspiration from God. In other words, God inspired incorrect information initially, which he himself corrected later on. This is absurd. This is absolutely mad.
So that was chapter 1, page 3. Listen to chapter 2, page 62. He says, reliable reports in the hadith show that the Holy Prophet said that Jesus lived to an advanced age of 125. Besides, every sect of Islam believed that Jesus had 2 unique characteristics that are not found in any other prophet. Number 1, he lived to a ripe old age of 125. He extensively traveled to many parts of the world and was therefore called the traveling prophet. So just let's do with the first part of this first. Reliable reports on the hadith state that the Holy Prophet said that Jesus lived to an advanced age of 125.
Where is it?
This part of the book, and the whole book is actually, there's lots of references in it, but this particular part is completely unreferenced. This is the part where it is most necessary for it to be referenced, because if this part was referenced, it would be game, set and match to the Ahmadis.
Exactly, and the entire house of cards is built upon this reference, or this point.
But listen to the next part.
No, before we get to the next part, I want to highlight something here. He said reliable hadith.
Reliable
so it
reports.
is already existing information he's referring to. So it can be easily found. It should be easily found, right? Because he's saying reliable hadith literature has this information.
I couldn't believe that this wasn't referenced, Adnan, because when I was reading this, I'm not an Islamic scholar. I'm a Mr. Nobody in
there is
this
no
field.
hadith.
But when I was reading this, I certainly know enough about Muslims, I know enough about Islam to know that should have been referenced, because I was looking for a reference.
Because there is no reference, Declan. There is no hadith that says Jesus died at 125. There is none, non-existent. It doesn't exist. On top of that, it says that he, what was the second point that Holy Prophet mentioned? He lived up to 125, and
is that every second
traveling, and a traveling prophet.
Yes, yeah.
Where is that hadith? Where is that hadith which states that Jesus was 125 when he died and he was well traveled? Show me. Then they're going to say Declan is a liar, Adnan is a liar, Declan is a liar, Adnan is a liar. Okay, we are liars. Show us how we are liars.
Well, if they can show it to us, it's game, set and match to them.
Absolutely, 100%. Game over.
Game over.
It would be game over, yes.
The second part of this is it is evident that had Jesus been raised to the skies at 33, the report that he lived for 125 could not be true, nor could he have managed to travelled so widely when he was a mere 33.
Yes.
Not only is this report found in the old and reliable collections of hadith, again, no references.
No reference.
Not only is this report found in the old and reliable collections of hadith, It is not possible to, this bit, love this bit. It is not possible to think of a report which is more widely known and so consistently accepted amongst all of Islam.
Unbelievable. Where is it?
Is more widely known and so consistently accepted.
Declan, do you think...
That's chapter 2, page 62, even though in chapter 1, page 3, Christians and most Muslims believe. So that if that's not an example of a complete 360-degree turn, what is?
It is 100%. So now the issue.
I'm not a scholar, but is there something in any of this that I'm wrong or I'm missing?
No. You are absolutely right in pointing this out, and we've been pointing this out, but they just simply call you a liar. They will not respond to this.
Well,
they will ignore this. They will play some long games. They will take you around the world instead of going straight to the point, straight to the question, and respond to it.
I mean, the book itself, I gave it to a Christian theologian to read. I gave it to a historian to read. There's many things we could say about this book, Jesus in India, and we could spend 2 hours.
Yes.
It's suffice to say, both parties that I gave it to read, they know nothing about the background. They weren't. Right. I didn't, brief them. Just reliable sources. They read it, because I'm a friend of theirs. The conclusion was that there was no scientific evidence in the book. That anything hypothesized in the book, no scientific evidence.
There isn't. No factual, no scientific, no intellectual argument that can actually substantiate the views expressed therein. So this is the point. The point is, this person was making up information as he went along, okay, and his followers, unfortunately, continue to believe this.
But Adnan, for me, I just can't believe that there is no reference to this. And as I said, the book itself is actually referenced...
Because the reference doesn't exist.
Fairly well referenced throughout the book.
Yes.
But this would be the most crucial reference. This section where he talks about, Islam and Muslims, it was only about 7 or 8 pages, whereas the Christian belief, it was about 40 pages.
Yes.
And I was particularly interested in this.
The reference doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. He just made it up. Is this not enough for you to know that this person was inventing facts?
It raises a very, very big question mark.
And there is no answer to it. I'm telling you right now. So this is what really shocks me, that if people have already learned this and they know this exists, and they continue to believe in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani as a prophet of God, then they themselves are guilty of ignoring facts, black and white facts, and they choose to be disbelievers. They choose to be disbelievers. Why? Because they're believing a liar to be a prophet of God.
Show us this report that's found in the old and reliable collections of hadith.
Doesn't exist. Non-existent. Declan, for the last 2 years, we've been engaging with them. If they had it, don't you think they would have pulled it out on us?
Well,
right?
If they have it, they need to pull it out because, as I said, it's game, set, and match. They've won.
They've had 100 years to find it.
Yeah.
They haven't found it.
Yeah.
They haven't found it. It doesn't exist. Because we have studied and scrutinized most reliable hadith books.
Well, you're quite an expert in the hadith.
I mean, I'm a student. But these reports don't exist. They do not exist. The reports that do exist completely contradict the religion.
I'd be inclined to say that if it existed, Muhammad Imtiaz would know about it.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit, another thing, let's talk a little bit about the lost tribes of Israel, because this comes up quite a lot in Jesus in India. And I know that you're a historian, so let's capitalize on your knowledge here. Do you think that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, he made the same mistake as others in not being able to differentiate between mythical and actual history when it comes to the lost tribes of Israel?
He added to mythical.
This is a common mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's actually mythical about them and what's actual history?
And he added to a lot of myths. He created myths.
Right.
He came up with things that don't exist, that are not historical. He just made up facts.
No, because the historian that I gave it to read, he's, here we go again. Because, people in the Middle Ages, right up until the last century, really, they've always been obsessed about the lost tribes. You know, the Victorians had thought the British.
Yeah, there were many theories.
British were God's chosen people, and that Jesus had come to England looking for them. If you
historically, we have no trace of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. We know this much from history, that the Assyrian invasion of Israel, okay, because there were two states after Solomon passed away, after he died, his state split into two states. In the south, Judea, in the north, Israel. The northern state of Israel was attacked by Assyrians, okay, and the Assyrians took 10 tribes that inhabited the northern state of Israel into exile, and they disappeared from history completely. We have no trace left of them. So what remained behind in Judea, okay, with Jerusalem as its capital, was two tribes, if not two and a half, two tribes. The Levites, the Judahites, and some Benjamites were left behind. And these are the ancestors of what we know today as the Jewish people. The Jewish people today mainly consist of two tribes, Levites and the Judahites. Okay, so the 10 tribes completely disappeared from history. We have no trace of them. Okay, people were trying to look for them. I mean, even during the Middle Ages, there was a Jewish prime minister in Islamic Spain, Hazrat ibn Shaprut, who was the finance minister of the most powerful caliph in the West at the time, Abdurrahman III. He wrote letters to King Joseph of Khazar, King of Khazaria, asking him if they are the lost 10 tribes of Israel, or if they are a part of those lost 10 tribes of Israel. And clearly they were not. Clearly they were not. They were converts. As we know, the Khazar Jews were converts. So people have been looking for 10 tribes, but there is no trace. There were many claims made in the
But what's the obsession with them? Because as I said, Victorians thought Jesus had come to England. If you look at the Mormons, you know, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You know, John Smith, or Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith, you know, who they believe is a prophet. He said that Jesus went to America looking for the lost tribes. That was pre-crucifixion.
He was. Mormonism is another group like the Ahmadis. They have literature, the Book of Mormon.
Yes. Which they go around the streets with.
They believe in it. There are many incredible claims made therein that cannot be substantiated factually. Likewise, Mirza Ghulam Qadiani made claims that they cannot be substantiated factually. Mormons are very influential. They're very big. They're much bigger than Ahmadiyya, by the way. They're much bigger than Ahmadiyya. In terms of their finances, their influences. They have bigger presence globally.
I agree with
than
you.
the Ahmadiyya.
I agree with you.
Okay, so a lot of these,
they have millions.
A lot of these groups,
followers.
A lot of these groups made incredible claims that cannot be substantiated. That's why they never gained a strong foothold against other great religions.
But going back to the point, the historian said that he made the same mistake as everybody else. What's mythical and what's actual history.
Yes. He mixed the two.
He mixed the two.
Absolutely. Okay. This is something you do not find with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay. In the Quran, you see myths filtered out and facts are confirmed. Amazingly. Right? It depends on how people feel about the supernatural. The Quran confirms the supernatural. The Quran confirms the miracles. Okay, but there are many myths in the name of previous religions that were introduced into the biblical text. Let's say the Quran completely disowns them. The Quran corrects them. The Quran highlights that these were actually myths. These were mistakes. For example, accusations against Mary. Okay, in the Jewish literature. That Mary was accused of unchastity. The Quran defends her in very powerful terms that your accusations are false. Whatever you said about Mary, and the fact that Jesus was crucified, this is false. He was not crucified. Okay, if he was crucified, then he would prove to be a false prophet because they were trying to kill him. And one of the slurs the enemy were using against Jesus Christ was that we killed him. It cannot be true. We crucified him. We nailed him. He cannot be a true prophet because he died a very disgraced death. This is the claim they were making. That's why the Quran comes forward and says, no, he was not crucified. He was not killed. So these are some of the myths the Quran challenges and corrects.
that I thought it was just worth mentioning that.
Absolutely.
Mentioning that point. We're coming towards the end of our time, but I just wanted to just touch upon, and as you and Muhammad in all the podcasts and live streams, you are totally against the persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan and the brutality that they sometimes face. In the people that I've been interviewing, the ex-Ahmadis, what's coming up is the persecution of ex-Ahmadis.
Right.
Obviously not in the brutal ways that they're being murdered and so on and so forth.
Which we condemn.
But
absolutely. We believe that there should be no persecution. There should be no killing. If people want to challenge the Ahmadiyya Jamaat, then we must challenge them intellectually with evidence, have debates and dialogues with them rather than persecuting them. I don't believe in this. Okay? No matter what the pretext is, no matter what the reasons are, persecution is not. Yeah, let the law take its course.
Yeah,
let the law take its
No,
course.
of course it does.
In the country.
Absolutely.
But taking the law into your own hands and persecuting people, killing people, absolutely, we do not condone that.
And you've always made that point.
100%.
Always.
100%. We do not condone that. We believe in dialogue and discussion, and we believe through dialogue we can completely expose the cult for what it is. Yeah.
But the ex-Ahmadiyas that I've been speaking to, they have been treated really, really poorly.
That's a hidden story.
It is.
That's a story that is hidden. They don't have a voice. They are the voiceless people that need a voice, and you're doing an amazing job bringing the voice to the forefront.
I just have been astonished by the viciousness. I just, for a community that says love for all, hatred for none, I am shocked by some of the stories that I am hearing.
And we want to talk about that. When your book is out, or when your book is complete, Declan, I want to do a podcast with you to discuss the book.
Is there some of this the Punjab mindset of the people, in the sense that, the majority of the ex-Ahmadiyas that I've spoken to, they have become Muslims. They've converted to Islam.
Right.
But is there some type of rivalry there, that they don't want them to become Muslims, or that they?
Oh yeah.
That they have disowned Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and they have.
They call them apostates. And with the labeling, the word apostate comes a lot of hatred, a lot of persecution. This persecution may not be in physical terms, but this persecution.
I'm looking for another word to persecution.
Mental torture.
Horrible.
Yeah, mental torture, blackmailing.
Psychological. Yeah.
Blackmailing. Disowning of individuals,
cutting people off.
The families cut off the person who has accepted Islam. So there is heavy persecution, as you are being exposed to it right now by interviewing ex-Ahmadis. This story has to be told. Okay, this victimhood that has been put out by the Ahmadiyya community, that we are the victims of oppression from the larger Muslim community, and we are being persecuted. But what most people don't know, they are actually persecuting their own children who accept Islam. Okay, they label them as apostates and start persecuting them. And your book, I think, will do a great job in bringing that to light.
But I don't understand why be so vile? Why be so cruel? Because once people leave, they leave. They're not going to come back again
but they can't accept that.
Let them go.
Yeah, but they can't accept that. We, as you have seen, and I have seen over this time we have been engaging with them, that ex-Ahmadis don't want to necessarily expose their conversion or their reversion. They're coming back to Islam. They don't want to expose it, right? Because they fear persecution from the family, they fear boycott, they fear being thrown out of the Jamaat at the expense of their well-being. Okay, so they lose everything overnight. If an Ahmadi youngster, a man or a woman, comes home and says, I'm a Muslim now, I don't believe in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, most probably he or she will be thrown out immediately, disowned, blackmailed. Okay, many have gone back due to this persecution. Many have gone back because they couldn't handle it, unfortunately. That's why we need more support for ex-Ahmadis. We need to speak up for them. We need to support them. We need to have more networks supporting them globally, so that we can bring the story to forefront, so that more and more ex-Ahmadis find the courage to come out and overcome these troubles. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adnan, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you today, and I'm sure that we'll meet sometime again in the future.
Thank you so much, Declan.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.